Bizarre Brain Comics. Hey! This is Gary here for Bizarre Brain Comics. Once again, this is where I like to delve into the depths of some old comics, usually talking about some of the creators and break down the story and the art and the history and stuff like that. Okay. Have a little sip there. Today, I want to talk about this little book right here. It's from 1971, Marvel Comics, Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, number 4. This was drawn by, written by Archie Goodwin and drawn by Billy Graham. I'll talk just a little bit about this one here too. This is the reprint of the first issue. I had the first issue when it was first published. I liked that one. Over the years, I've either lost it or gotten rid of it or mislaid it or what have you. But I got this reprint. This was and this issue was drawn by George Tuska. And of course, Luke Cage was created in 1971 by writer Archie Goodwin. I think I've covered him in some depth before. And there have been many creators over the years. There are writers and artists, and Luke Cage is still around and fairly popular. Of course, his title was originally Hero for Hire. Eventually, he became known as Power Man, and while he's still Power Man, he's usually referred to Luke Cage because he doesn't have a secret identity as such. And when the sales figures really dipped with Luke Cage and also with the Iron Fist title, they decided to merge the two and into Heroes for Hire, and it that lasted for many years. Teaming them up together seemed to work pretty well. Okay. Let's get into it. Take a look at issue 4 of Luke Cage, Hero for Hire. Okay, Hero, issue 4 of Luke Cage. Even though he's Hero for Hire and Power Man, he's usually referred to as Luke Cage. Just like as his TV series was just titled Luke Cage. It just left off Hero for Hire or Power Man or anything like that. And before we get into this, I was to talk a little bit about this one. I really like this one. I like that cover. I really like the covers on both of them. George Tuska and Billy Graham. Well, this is an introduction to the character. Even though it's static, it's very dynamic, and I like all the things happening around the figure. And here, this is very, very action-oriented and very dynamic because it's stuff in progress. George Tuska was very good at drawing figures that, while remaining static, very good at potential energy, like they're just about to burst into action. Whereas here it is right in the middle of the action. And then for Luke Cage's background, of course, he was a prisoner, a convict in Seagate's prison. He was wrongfully convicted of a crime he did not commit, and it was very tough living there. There were some racist guards, and it came down really hard on him. And he was coerced or into volunteering for some kind of scientific experiment. and one of the racist guards tinkered with the equipment, which resulted in an explosion, which was intended to kill Luke Cage, but instead it had a side effect of giving him superpowers, specifically super tough skin and a degree of super strength, which apparently made his body denser and heavier, because he makes reference to how heavy he is now. Whereas he's not invulnerable by any means. He is tough. His skin is bulletproof and probably explosion proof, and has general increased toughness. Okay, and like I said here, Billy Graham did. Now I'm not totally familiar with Billy Graham. I do recognize his name. I've seen his work and other stuff. But one of the things I am gratified about is that whereas George Tuska is a white artist, and he did an amazing job, since it's almost exclusively, well, not exclusively, but primarily black characters. Billy Graham was I should say, a black artist, and at this time, 1971, I would make him one of the few black comic artists in mainstream comics at that time, and I think he did a great job at the artwork. And I think this, I've never read anything specifically to it, but I think this was kind of like Marvel jumping on the bandwagon of the black exploitation movies of the early 70s, stuff like Shaft and Superfly and Dolomite and stuff like that. Just like they jumped on the bandwagon with the Kung Fu movies with Iron Fist and Shang-Chi. Okay, let's take a look. This is The Phantom of 42nd Street. And it's Cry Fear, Cry Phantom. And the splash page just starts right off. It's kind of exciting, even though there's no real action going on. Luke Cage is in his office, where he also lives. And here this hooded, glowing figure erupts into his office, and as if to terrorize him. What the heck? And he's quickly awakening. See how dynamic it starts right off at the beginning, and some great anatomy on Luke Cage there. And he confronts the interloper, but he can't doesn't seem to be able to get a hold of him through the shrouded in all this this cloak. But incredibly strong fingers do get Luke by the throat, but it's not enough to and able to toss him across the room. So whoever this is incredibly strong, although not super strong. He's up and he's bound. Look at that. Oh, it's breaking the borders and the extreme perspective on that figure. That's some great stuff. Because even though it's just simply running across the room through the doorway, it's very dynamic, very action-packed. And he grabs onto the guy and sees his face under the cloak. Oh, it's horrifying. And he sees he's looking for something against that wall in his office. He has no time to wonder about that. Then there's knocking on the door, and Cage goes to open it, and sees it's D.W. Griffith, the guy who runs the theater, downstairs under his office. He says something's going on downstairs. Luke Cage gets his duds on and goes down and finds out. And it turns out that people had seen the Phantom that Luke had just seen, caused a stir, damaged the screen, and so Luke is looking around, and he's being observed. And go out onto the street. This is early in the morning, before sunup, and this is a really good shot of a New York street. Except I have hard time believing. Well, it just says it's deserted. All the people come rushing out. I have a hard time believing that that any time of the day or night, a New York street is going to be that deserted. But 50 years ago, maybe it would have. So in here, all except for this crazy guy. Repent, the world is coming to an end, that kind of stuff. Then he's confronted by this guy from the newspaper, the Daily Bugle. Luke doesn't want to have anything to do with him, and he does some backgrounds and stuff. Well, the guy was interested in this spot where something had been on the wall. DW says, "Well, this is the picture that hung on the wall before we rented it to you." Okay, who's this guy? And he's talking about Adrian Loring. I guess he had been a bigwig in the movie theaters, the whole chain of theaters, and several years before, and he died in a fire when the particular theater burned down. And okay, then this lady, I guess she's a lady doctor, stops by, and Cage walks her to the clinic where she works. Here's the doctor who works at the clinic with her, and he's also the man who was conducting the experiment which gave Luke Cage his powers, and he feels guilty about that because this experiment had gone wrong and nearly killed Luke Cage. And here it is. This is this big guy tearing stuff apart. Luke Cage interferes. Sees the guy's got a hand injury. It's okay. He's just a patient. He doesn't understand. This little fella, a dwarf who's with him. The guy is from Haiti. He doesn't speak English. Speaks French. So he tells him about that. Said they're here to help. But Luke is kind of suspicious because of this guy's hand. But he's not big enough, because the guy had injured his hand when he slugged him, and that phantom had injured his hand when he slugged Luke. So, but he's not, even big and strong as he is, he's not big enough to be that figure, that phantom. So Luke is going on. He's got some investigating to do, and he goes to see and is to be hired by DW's uncle, who owns a string of these theaters, and he's just a real tool. And even though he wants to hire Luke, he's really rude to him, and Luke shows him. See, standard 6-page panel, slight variation here. And there's the crazy guy out in the street. Oh, Doom, Gamora, all about us. But his backgrounds, I bet he just looked out the window. Looked out the window and was able to draw these great detail-filled backgrounds. I just love his backgrounds here. And it's great figures. It's a great job. And it's kind of funny because Luke just got a bunch of these new shirts because these shirts keep getting damaged. And yeah, silk shirts ain't cheap. While he's accosted by that reporter from the Bugle again, he just takes off. He wants to check things out from the roof, and he sees something going on in his office across the street. So he just plows right through. Look at that. Come charging right through the window. Boom. Again, it's the hood, the cloak, and it's empty. But he sees the face of the Phantom, and he had disappeared into a closet. What the heck? He smashes through the back wall, and there's a tunnel. There was a secret panel there. Look, this is a great figure here. It's kind of awkward the way he's holding that flashlight, but the figure is great. And he follows through in the tunnel, and here's another great background. All the detail in this cellar. This is an arcade across the street, and we see that guy's face again. And he says this figure looks like the picture of the dead man on that picture that had been on the wall. So for some reason he was after that painting. And there's the Phantom, and he tosses an arcade game down at Luke, which he makes short work of. Nice and dramatic. And then boom, that's a great shot right there. Plows right into the guy. smashing up all kinds of equipment and stuff. And there he sees, yeah, it is the big guy that had been in the doctor's office. And the reason he looked so tall is because sitting on his shoulders with the creepy face had been the dwarf working with him. He was an acrobat. And with his acrobatic skills, he managed to get a little bit up on this. Here, this is great and dynamic right there. Able to at least distract Luke, if not do any real damage to him. But then Luke gets tangled up in these electrical wires, and he's getting electrocuted. And he's trying to get him to tell Luke where that painting is. Where's that painting? And Luke says, even though he's being zapped and electrocuted, and his brand new shirt gets burned away. It's another great coloring. The coloring guys, whoever did the coloring did a real good job to highlight the action that's going on in the scene without destroying the beautiful backgrounds. Good stuff. And Luke manages to smash the power panel, so he's okay, even though his clothes are all burned off. And so where would he go? Where it's had something to do with that old man who hired me. So he goes to see him, and there's the little dwarf fella. He's got to talk to DW first. There's the little dwarf fella. He's got in, and this is some nice progression here. You can just see the growing fear and tension in this old man's face. The sweat could have been right out of one of the horror comics. And the progression here as the creepy little guy, with the creepy face, comes to him, reveals that he is the son of the man in the picture, the Loring fellow who died in a fire. And he accuses this old man, who had been his business partner, of murdering him. And that painting had written information that would prove that this old man, Griffith's old man, had been embezzling money from their partnership. Just as the old man is about to shoot the little dwarf, Cage busts in and catches the bullet in his bulletproof hand. Even so, that still hurts, because he's commented before that while being bulletproof, they still hurt. But he doesn't have time to mention that. And then the little dwarf fella, still after revenge, dives on the old man, and they crash through the window behind him, and they both fall to their doom. It says, "I choose revenge!" And there's great forced perspective here on those buildings to really express the height of the building. They fall to their deaths below. And then as Luke gets back out onto the street, still there's the old man, the crazy old man with his posters. "This is a street of sin. Beware, the avenging spirit shall bring it doom." Well, he's thinking maybe he's not so crazy after all. Then Black Mariah next. I've seen the first season of the series. I really liked it. I thought I actually, in both the comics and in the series, I like Luke Cage bald. He looks good bald with a shaved head. And that actor, I can't remember his name. I like him. He is so big, and he's just perfect for Luke Cage. And of course, he met up with that lady. I suddenly cannot remember her name. Who in the comics they eventually get married and have a baby. She had her own TV show too. Jessica Jones, and she's super tough too. So I guess they make a good team. And that's about all I've got. I like the show. I've only seen the first season. I got it on DVD. I liked the comic way back when. I haven't kept up with the newer stuff in more recent years. I don't know. So I don't know much about it. But I liked it then. This is, like I said, kind kind of like the black exploitation movies. But it was good, and it was good to bring more diversity into the world of the heroes in both Marvel and DC. Okay, thank you for joining me. Hope you liked it. Hit like, share it with your other comic book friends. Subscribe if you haven't. And remember, comics are art.